Hello, everyone. Today's presentation is about knowledge design, which is a kind of a concept I use to make sense of my profession. And currently, I'm employed at the University of Groningen, and I have this very lucky combination of appointments. I'm assistant professor of science technology at Campus Friesland. At the same time, I'm working since 2019 with the Meta Lab from Harvard University, and this will be also part of my presentation. Table of content, just to give you an idea of what I'm going to talk about. There is the first part of my presentation is about knowledge introduction, and it's mainly related to my education and my professional expertise. And the second part of my presentation is focused on 3 different projects of data visualization that took place between 2019 and 2022. So let's start with the part of knowledge design and education. So how I started in this way because my father bought me this personal computer. So I started coding when I was very young, of course, very basic stuff in BASIC. And but then when it occurred the moment to choose the university, I chosen computer science, and probably I was wrong. But I mean, what I was missing in computer science was the visual part. When I discovered the visual part, everything changed. And it is important to say that I was studying in Milan, and Milan is known worldwide for its fame about the city of design, and there are plenty of famous designers from the past who live and work in that city, and a lot of affection from me is for Enzo Mari. And at the beginning of my book, I use this quote by Enzo saying drawings are not ornaments, they are words. And this is very, crucial for all of us because, it means that there is a content, there is knowledge with images. And sometimes creating an image is more difficult than write a page of text. So I think in a cultural environment in which everything is very text-based, in this moment of history, we are witnessing a shift toward visual means, toward visual language. And this is important because we have to talk about data literacy and visual literacy. And so I started with computing, and after a while, I found that I was not so bad in graphic design. This is just a layout I got from my PhD studies, but I loved to work with Illustrator, especially. I loved to work with typography, and I loved to work with Adobe Flash, for whom are old enough to remember this kind of application. And so the passage was, from one point of view, I was very good in graphic design, but I was studying coding. So at a certain moment, I started working in UX design, and I practiced that when I was assistant researcher at the university. And a certain point, and that was a big change in my career, I was employed for European Commission, and after that, I started working in Paris with Bruno Latour. And this is the outcome I did with the design team, and Bruno was intelligent enough to put together computer scientists and sociologists to the design. And it was taking a lot of people from Milan, especially from density design. And this moment was very rich to me because I was working with Donato Ricci and Danilo Guido, who are still a friend of mine and colleagues, and from time to time we work together. But again, UX design. And next step came with the PhD. I moved to Lausanne. I got my PhD at EPFL with Frédéric Kaplan and Boris Baud. And I was working about this mapping of affinities. But let's say that, I mean, I was always working with information from different perspectives. And basically, after I left UX design and I landed on information design, was a kind of epuration of the structure. And this is very interesting because with information design, for me at least, you can really shape the information as you want. And let's say that in this kind of a complexity, in this kind of a simplification, leaving the interface, I landed up to knowledge design. So what is knowledge design? Knowledge design is just a way to think about the production of culture, the production of knowledge. So it's related to the actors creating knowledge. It's related to the organization contributing. So for me, it was very important to think data visualization, even in terms of organization, because an organization allowed me to create, to have a PhD. I'm working in organization, and this kind of collectives are very important if we want to convey a message, or even if we want to create a huge work of a collaboration. And so in my thesis, I mean, I published my thesis a couple of years ago. It's called Mapping Affinities, and it's about the organizational charts of a large organization. The good news is that the book is for free, so you can just download it from my website, from the publisher. But what was really interesting to me during the days, during the period of the PhD, is that I enter a little bit in this complexity of knowledge design. So for example, there is a very nice essay by Johanna Drucker about designers and the digital means they are using today, because in the past, designers were more industrial designers. And I remember when I was very young and I told to a professor that I was a digital designer, he started laughing to me. And now we have digital designers everywhere. So, I mean, even to have this historical overview by Johanna was very nice, because I mean, really, we have created a professional activity in the last 30 years, and it's just amazing. And my other reference is my colleague and professor Jeffrey Snapp, who wrote several texts about knowledge design. And what Jeffrey is bringing about this is about the reflection, how we produce the knowledge. And really, even now, when we are working as information designers, we are really in the chain of creating knowledge. And the knowledge is very complex, because we have procedures, we have regulations, we have formats, we have forms, we deliver presentation. It's complex, and basically we can relocate all this imaginary in a networks of relation. And this idea of a network connecting information with people and organization was very nice to me as definition of knowledge design, because it was also very close to the point of view of Bruno Latour and his relational approach to science. So let's say that this was my background. And now let's start with the second part, which is very visual. So I like to work with data visualization, but especially I like to work with collective of people. I love to work with a team, and I also like the idea to make the most of organizations, because as I told you before, the creation of knowledge passes through organization. It's not just left to individuals. So for example, in these 3 projects, I was working with 3 different organizations. In these cases are just museums. So the first one is the EPFL pavilions, directed by Sarah Kenderdine at EPFL in Lausanne, Switzerland. Second one is very famous, is the Ars Electronica Center, based in Linz, Austria. And the third one is very close to the Meta Lab headquarters, and it's the Harvard Art Museum's recently restored by Renzo Piano. So 3 projects in 3 different places. So the first project is called Supervision, and Supervision was created to celebrate the 50th anniversary of my university, the EPFL. So I was invited to create a representation of the organization. And this is an overlook of the university, and how you can tell of the last 50 years of the university. And as you can see, I mean, the building full of halls is the famous library created by architects Studio Sana, and the longer vertical stripe is the EPFL pavilion created by Kengo Kuma. And this is the place in which the exhibition for the 50th anniversary took place, and it's beautiful place, wooden made. And what I started thinking with Sarah and my colleague Philippe Riviera was to create a visualization of the doctoral thesis, because when you think about the university and doctoral candidates are placed exactly between the teachers and the students. So we started digging into the data set, and we created this complex visualization made with UMAP, in which theses are just spaced out according to their lexical distance. So no metadata, nothing, just a frequency of a text. And what is interesting, and you can see from this picture, is that you see here all the doctoral theses, and the highlighted areas correspond to faculties. So in this kind of a visualization, you can see that there is a continuity between text and faculty. And this is the final result we created. So it's a kind of a big timeline, which is circular. At the center of this timeline, you have the structure, and basically you have a selector going through the timeline. In this moment, we are between 2002 and 2003. And what you are seeing popping up was an act of simplification we did, because we were showing 8,000 theses. So basically the ones that are bumping up are the theses belonging to this particular selection. And what was interesting, just to come back to the idea of organization, of establishment of the physical spaces, is that we created a digital installation to show this work to the public. And this is a picture of it. Second project, the cartography of the coronavirus, took place in 2021 at the Ars Electronica Center during the festival. And even in this case was a collective project created with Evelyn van der Vogt, Elian Kazernat, and other colleagues from Garamantis based in Berlin, and from Ars Electronica Solution. So this is the center of Ars Electronica, which is a beautiful museum on the Danube. And each year in September, there is a week which is full of events and visitors. So that was the first time the festival went physical after the pandemic. And this was the reason why we wanted to reflect about this topic. And we created a huge visualization with all the scientific papers published in the last basically 1 year and a half during the pandemic by scientists, because the idea was to show this large amount of work from the scientists that usually are not visible. They are working behind the curtains. So the idea was really create an astonishing visualization, because here we are visualizing more than 500,000 of papers and show to the public what scientists were doing. And what is great, I think, about this place is that there is an immersive theater. So what we did is to present this visualization to the public, and it was live because they have a great system. So the idea was really, with this kind of a complexity in information design, you have to talk, you have to create a relationship with the public. So in this moment, I speak into the public, saying what they are seeing. And in this way, I provide visitors, spectators, the tool to make a sense of what they are seeing. And then create even a common space to which we can create a discussion, and we can create, of course, knowledge. Very last project that was presented last year at Harvard Art Museums in Cambridge. It's called Surprise Machines, and it's inspired to the work of Alan Turing and his famous paper about artificial intelligence. So the point of the argument of Turing was, it was very simple. Was Turing was saying that machine can surprise humans. So the idea to create a surprise machine is to create a surprise to the visitors. So we had these beautiful settings because the center of the museum is entirely transparent. You have this glass roof at the top, and there is a special space. There was a special place for digital installation. And what we wanted to provide the visitor with was an entire visualization of the archives of the museum. And this is very important because when you go to a museum, in that case, you see just a small percentage of the belongings of the item of the museums. And in this case, at the museum, in all over the history of this museum, the galleries were able to show just 1% of the total amount of items they have in the archives. So what we did was to create a visualization with all the images of items from the archive. And it was a beautiful collaboration with Lindsay Derry and other colleagues from the Meta Lab, and also the DH Lab from Yale University. And we created this beautiful visualization. And the visualization was usable through the concept of zooming. So basically, by zooming, you could enter in specific area of this shape, of this form. And basically, the items in that specific area are, are similar according to metrics of artificial intelligence. So, for example, in this slide, you can see that in that specific area of the image, and we are visualizing around 200,000 objects. You see some handmade portraits. You can recognize Gandhi, and you can even recognize Einstein in the middle. So it was very a digital installation for exploration, for browsing into the collection, for thinking what we can see and what is not visible. And this is finally the digital installation at the museum, and through a very nice collaboration with colleagues of the Meta Lab, we created this interface able to capture body language. And so we were playing with Zoom functions just by using the movement of the body. It was something about research, something explorative, but something very nice to explore in this moment. My presentation is finished. I invite you to look for my material on my website. Everything I do is open access and open source, so you can check it and download my book. And I thank you for your attention.